Hello ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to talk to you about aviation technology. This field encompasses airports, airlines, even NASA, but mainly airports and airlines. Airlines are what trains were to the people in the 1700s, what carts were to people before them, what buses were to people in the 1900s. They're a mode of transportation for the public. They're public transportation, literally. And they have become a big part of today's world. Airplanes transport millions of passengers each year, and it's really an effective mode of transportation. To make sure airlines and airports function properly, it takes a manager with the skills to make sure that happens. It takes business skills, computer skills, project management skills, and human capital development skills, which includes leadership. Before I begin with the more basic fundamentals of aviation technology, it's good to start with a good foundation. So that means the past, present, and future of aviation technology. Aviation technology is a pretty new field. They didn't begin until about 1903 when the Wright brothers invented and flew the first successful airplane in Kitty Hawk. There's a lot of controversy on this because some people say the first airplane was built in England and the Wright brothers just stole it. But for these purposes, American flight started with the Wright brothers. The Wright brothers had no idea what their invention would become. They were just inventing something that flew. It was man's dream. Not even 10, 15 years later, their invention was being used for war. It was being used before the Great War, known as World War I, but World War I is what really thrust the aviation field into the field of war. Many people were using airplanes to spy on other countries. And when people figured this out, they started using airplanes to shoot down other airplanes. Thus, aviation warfare. After the war ended, aviation just took off. The post office started using army pilots to transport mail. And eventually this grew into commercial airlines through the Kelly Act, which allowed the post office to contract out the carrier for mails. This created airlines, it created airfields, airports, all over the country. This is where modern day airports came from and modern day airlines came from, as I mentioned before. A lot of commercial airlines that are still around today, and some who aren't, trace their heritage back to this. Moving on to present day airlines, today we have what's called a hub and spoke system, because a wheel has spokes that all lead to a hub. The spokes support the hub, and the hub's what makes it move. For example, I'd like to use Delta Airlines. That's where I work. That's my company. I enjoy my job, so we'll start with Delta Airlines. The largest airport in the world in terms of passengers transported and deplaned is Atlanta. Atlanta is the base for Delta Airlines. It is their hub. We have many spokes that feed into this hub, namely Birmingham, Jackson, even Hattiesburg feeds into other airports. The point is, Atlanta's the hub. This is where Delta's main office is, where their main airplanes are. This is where they fly to thousands of locations around the world, internationally, domestic. Everybody flies into Atlanta to get to their other destinations. Delta has other hubs, but Atlanta is just their main hub. Moving on to the future of aviation, we can see the main things that are going to happen in the future already starting today. For example, artificial intelligence is being used to forecast weather, create flight plans, create procedures for flights, and amongst a lot of other things. Eventually, we'll probably see AI piloting the aircrafts that people are flying on. We already see it in drones and warfare. So eventually that's probably where airlines will go to. That'll cut back on manpower, making it more cheaper for people to fly. We also have more streamlined aircraft, and this means more fuel efficient, more aerodynamic, thus saving money for the airlines and in turn saving money for the customers who fly. And when you have cheaper air flights, you'll get more customers flying because it's more affordable. With the invention of new aircraft comes new airports to support those aircraft. You'd have to design new runways, make them longer, make them shorter, make them more durable. You'll have to design new jet bridges to support those aircraft, and amongst many other things. It really just funnels down until the bottom of it. So, to make these airports and airlines successful to continue transporting the public in a more efficient and safe manner, managers need a certain set of skills. One of these skills is business skills. This is proper leadership, the use of Excel, their leadership styles, amongst many other things. An effective leader will have a lot of business skills. They'll know how to do accounting, because financials is a big part of both airports and airlines. To continue running, they have to make a profit. Delta gives back to the community, they give back to their employees, and they try to make sure the customers are just taken care of. With airports are looking for new ways to bring customers in. So they're advertising, they're giving discounts. Airlines are doing this as well. Delta has a lot of discounts. You can go online and find a flight for $100 now, which is unheard of not even 10 years ago. Once 9/11 hit, a lot of people were not flying anymore. So managers of both airlines and airports had to come up with new ways to generate revenue. Some of them get revenue from their parking lots where people park. Others find other ways of leasing out their property for car lots, hotels, many other businesses, and they generate revenue that way. That way they're not so dependent on these flights that may or may not happen. Some airports have even leased out their land to get petroleum, gas, natural gas, all of that from their land. And this generates millions of dollars a year for the airport. Some airlines, such as Delta, have also done this, and they've bought their own refineries. That way they get cheaper gas to fly, and Delta also sells gas to other companies, generating further revenue for them. Computer skills are also another important aspect of running a business. Managers need to know how to craft a presentation. They need to craft an email with proper grammatical structure, and they just want to sound professional. Computers are also playing a big role in how people check in at airports, how they go through security, how they buy a ticket. It's all computerized nowadays. So managers need to have at least a general understanding of how this works. With check-in process, we have kiosks now where people can check in and avoid the long line at the counter. This has made the check-in process easier, more efficient, and people are happier about this because they can get to their plane faster. With some of the other things, websites. You can track a plane online now, see when it's coming in. You can even buy your ticket online. You get more discounts online as well because you can search around for the best price. Websites have really revolutionized the airfield amongst other fields, and it's really taken off. Next is project management. Project management is a great skill to have for managers. It doesn't just apply for huge projects like building an airport, it can apply to day-to-day things and day-to-day tasks. Project management is the efficient use of time and resources to accomplish a goal or a task, and you're going to want to do this in a safe and efficient manner, always. When it comes to airports, airports have to be designed in such a way that the airfield is secure, passengers are safe, nobody's able to wander around into places they're not supposed to. Also with airports, there's a lot of government regulations that dictate what, where, and how much you're supposed to spend on construction, and the government will actually give these airports money to build a safer airport. Like I said, with project management, it's not just for managers, it can be for employees too. An employee can make sure they're using their time and resources at home and at work in the most efficient way possible. And this affects their home life and their work life. The last skill I would like to talk about is human capital development skill. This is mostly leadership. Leadership plays a huge role in managing any business, not just airports and airlines, any organization. If you have good leaders at the top, then it'll trickle down all the way to the bottom employee. Even the rules and regulations a good leader puts into place helps the company. For example, the uniform I'm wearing now is actually Delta's uniform, and we want to look professional, we want to look good to the customer and feel like they're getting the best for their money. Customer service is also a huge deal when it comes to airlines. We want to make sure people are happy, and we want to make sure they're coming back to fly with us again. When we have good managers with the good management styles, it'll show the customer how we run the business. If a good leader is in place, the employees will be better at their jobs, and it'll show through to the customer. If there's a bad leader, it'll show through just as well as a good leader. So, like I said, it's very important to have a good leader. For example, there's a study done about the effects of pilot leadership on the crew in emergency situations. It was found that a pilot that practiced shared leadership was more effective than one who did not. There was better response times for emergencies, the crew got along better, and it was just handled all over better. Now, I'm not saying every leadership style has a certain place. There's no cookie cutter mold for what leadership style should be used in a certain situation. It'll take a lot of experience and a lot of time to get the right leadership style. But a good leader can make a company good, but a great leader can make the company great. That brings us into the conclusion of it. We read the book From Good to Great, and it talked about how good is the nemesis of great. Most people are so content on being good, and being good enough is just fine for them. That's why we don't have a lot of great companies. So with airports and airlines, if we were just good all the time, we would never revolutionize the industry, would never improve. That's why good leaders are needed who want to strive, who want to be better and strive to be better. They should never be content where they are. They should always want to improve. That's why all of these skills are needed. Business, computer, human capital development, project management. All these skills play a huge role in making a business successful. It can turn a good business to a great business. And the lack of these skills and the lack of leadership can really determine if a company is going to succeed or not. It can bring down a company if they do not have these skills. So I'd like to have any questions. If anybody has any questions, please just email me. My email is w914716@usm.edu. You can also contact me by email, phone, however you would like to ask questions, or you can ask questions now.